Hi there, this is Raja Rao. Thanks again for joining. And today what I'm going to do is to talk about platform as service and in particular Cloud Foundry. And before that, let me introduce myself. I mainly work on Node.js and I focus on advocating Node.js on Cloud Foundry. And today I'll be describing platform as service in general, and I'll be doing the demos in using Node.js apps. In case you haven't gotten any account, I encourage you to go and sign up and get a free Cloud Foundry account at my.cloudfoundry.com/signup and use the promo code CloudToday. And today's session is going to be approximately about 30 minutes or so. And in the beginning, we are going to describe what the problem is and what solution platform as service is offering, and what solution Cloud Foundry in particular is offering. And then I will also show you some demos using a couple of Node.js applications. So with that, let's first start with the problems. What's the problem that platform as service is trying to solve? So for example, let's say you have an idea for a cool app. Now, after you have an idea, you can't just go and then run it. You need to, order some servers, and then you need to justify the cost for all the servers to your management. There will be some kind of a procurement process, and then you need to hire some IT guys, and to install all the servers and install the database and figure out where to host this database and which data center to choose and all sorts of things. So as you can imagine, although you have an idea, just to get this idea, even if you have an application, just to have this idea to production, it will take a couple of months, at the very minimum. This is assuming that, the whole thing is a smooth sailing. This slide kind of shows you more real-world example of how this process, the current process, takes, in the real-world example. So the whole thing is kind of, you may not be able to read anything here because of we're kind of hidden the whole thing for privacy reasons. But the main idea is, in order to get your applications and your ideas to production, there is a huge amount of steps. You may not know all the steps. At a high level, you may be able to say 4 or 5 of them, but in reality, there are literally about 50 or 60 steps that you need to go through in order to get your application to production. So during the next 30 minutes, what I encourage you to do is, while I am discussing what PaaS is and what Cloud Foundry offers, I encourage you to have some kind of an idea or a project or some kind of a web application in mind, and think of some framework like Java, Node.js, Ruby that you might want to use, and also follow the overview slides and the live demo that I'll be doing, and think about how you might be able to use Cloud Foundry in your own company and for your own project. So that brings us to Cloud Foundry. So Cloud Foundry is a open platform as a service. So what that means is, let's first kind of define what a platform is. Platform is, in a way, anything other than your source code. So if your let's say, for example, you have an app and you have coded up your app, and anything that your app needs other than your source code, which means your database, which means your laptop or wherever you're running, which means power supply, which means database servers, anything that your application needs other than the source code itself is a platform. So now if someone offers this platform as a service, which means you don't have to worry about all these things other than just the source code, and you basically rent or pay for this, pay for all these infrastructures, all other things other than your source code, then you are basically consuming the platform as a service. And Cloud Foundry is one of the leading open platform as a service. When we say open, the entire source code that offers this infrastructure around your source code is completely open source. And we also mean open in many other ways, which I'm going to explain in the future slides. But Cloud Foundry in at a high level is a open platform as a service that allows you as a developer or a company to focus on your application rather than worrying about the infrastructures and also any of the services and the frameworks. Cloud Foundry offers this platform as a service. Basically has three main features. It offers these things in three different aspects. One is simplicity. So what we're trying to do is to offer all these infrastructures in an extremely simple fashion. So we want people meaning developers to focus on their code and not worry about how to install it, how to patch all the newer versions of the services, and how to worry about things like databases or keeping up all the services running and stuff. And secondly, we are focusing on keeping it open. So which means when you run your application in Cloud Foundry, you don't have to worry about vendor lock-in, which means if you don't like Cloud Foundry services, or for whatever reasons you don't like the service that we are offering, then you can very easily move your source code from Cloud Foundry to someone else's cloud. So we are trying our best to avoid any sort of vendor lock-in. So I'm going to explain a little bit more in details in the future slides. But the main idea is we want your application that may be running on your local host or on a laptop, for example, to run just like that, just as is, without any code changes on Cloud Foundry. So that means you can then avoid, because a lot of times these whenever you're using any kind of infrastructure or a platform, it will take you are investing for a couple of years, right? So your project is not like a 1-month project, it's a multi-year project. So after a year or so, if you decide something is wrong with the services or with the platform that you're using, you should be able to easily move out and use someone else's service. So that's the main idea of Cloud Foundry's open aspect. And the third one is flexible and scalable. So everything is self-service. So when I say we are offering these services, you don't really need to ask someone permission to use any of these services. Everything is self-service. You just say, okay, I need MongoDB service, or I need a RabbitMQ service, or I need to use Java 7 runtime environment, and it automatically provides you that particular service or a framework without you having to worry about it. So this kind of slide shows you exactly what I mean by simplicity. So in order to run your application in Cloud Foundry, all you need to do is, at a high level, just know 4 or 5 very simple, straightforward command line commands. So we have a tool called VMC, which is a Ruby-based command line tool. So you install this command line tool, which I'm going to show you later, and then you kind of learn 3 or 4 commands, and you all of a sudden will be running your application in a very sophisticated platform as a service environment. So the very first one is the target. So target any cloud. So because Cloud Foundry is open, quite a lot of folks out there have taken our open source code, and they're actually providing commercial service very similar to cloudfoundry.com. And now, if you want to run Cloud Foundry's source code on, let's say on AppFox, which is one of the Cloud Foundry's partners in our ecosystem, so all you need to say is target, api.appfox.com, then your code, and then you can upload your code to AppFox data centers rather than the cloudfoundry.com, which is run by VMware. So similarly, you say we have a push command, which is a which is a alias for upload, and a bind services. So you can say, okay, now I have uploaded my command, my app. I want to now bind it to multiple services. So within VMware's within Cloud Foundry, the services are things like databases like MySQL, MongoDB, RabbitMQ, etc. And so you can bind it to any one of them. So you can even bind to multiple of them, multiple services. And the last one is instances my app. So instances is a command option where you can very easily increase or decrease the number of instances of your application. So you simply say VMC instances, your application name, and 100. So all of a sudden what happens is it's going to increase the number, your app, it's going to start, make a copy of your app and run 100 instances of your app instantaneously. So without you having to worry about actually, copying your source code to all 100 different virtual machines. So within our platform as a service, we kind of divide our Cloud Foundry into three different, three different factors. The first one is the target, which is you can target into any cloud like cloudfoundry.com or AppFog or Staccato, and then you bind to any services. So like I said, you can bind to MongoDB, MySQL, or RabbitMQ, any of these services, and you can also use any kind of frameworks. So your application might use, when I say framework, it might be Node.js, or it may be Java, it may be Scala, any of those frameworks. So before I go ahead, just a reminder. So we actually have two different notions. One is cloudfoundry.com, and the other one is cloudfoundry.org. Cloudfoundry.com is a hosted platform as service that is run by VMware. So we actually have a data center where we are running this platform as service and actually running this as a platform as service. And cloudfoundry.org is the open source portal where you can go in and find the actual open source platform as service code, which is actually built using Ruby on Rails, and so you can download it, you can fork it, and in fact, like I mentioned earlier, a whole bunch of our partners have taken this source code and they have contributed back many other runtimes, many other frameworks, etc. And similarly, a whole bunch of them have actually taken this open source code and they are running it, and they are providing their own services like AppFog and Staccato, etc. So let's take a deeper look at cloudfoundry.com for a second. Cloudfoundry.com is a multi-tenant platform as service. This is operated by VMware. So what it means by multi-tenant means a single virtual machine might be running more than one application of more than one user. So that's what multi-tenant means. So this is our infrastructure. This is how we run all these apps within our platform as service infrastructure. And we have three different sections here. So the first one is the framework. So we currently support Spring, Java, Ruby on Rails, Node, Scala, and Node.js. And when it comes to services, we are supporting RabbitMQ, MongoDB, Redis, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and a few others. So although we support quite a lot of frameworks and services, the cloudfoundry.org supports quite a lot of services. Cloudfoundry.com only supports a limited set of services and frameworks. So we support a bunch of existing and popular ones like Spring, Java, Ruby, and stuff, and also a couple of upcoming ones like Node and Scala and stuff. Okay, and all these things are running on top of vCenter or vSphere in our data center. So we also have something called as a micro Cloud Foundry, which is actually industry's first downloadable platform as service. So what it is it comes on you can actually go to cloudfoundry.com/micro and download it. So what it is it's actually the entire platform as service, the Ruby code that I was talking about, that's installed in a Ubuntu virtual machine. And you can download this entire virtual machine that has this platform as service code installed and running, and you can then use VMware's Fusion or Player or any of these desktop tools to actually run it. So then now what happens is you have your entire platform as service running inside your laptop, inside a virtual machine. So you can then push your code and you can update your code and test everything without even having, for example, an internet or something. You can just directly push it from your laptop to this virtual machine. So in this case, your platform as service will be managing only one virtual machine, which is the virtual machine that you download. So that brings us to cloudfoundry.org. Cloudfoundry.org is the open source project that I talked about earlier. So let me quickly show you what it is, so you kind of get an idea. So this is cloudfoundry.com. This is just a portal where we have documents and steps for you to actually use our hosted cloudfoundry.com platform as service. And then this one is actually cloudfoundry.org. This is where we kind of have links for you to download the actual source code for you to go and then contribute or download or fork any of the frameworks and services, etc. Okay? So let me go back here. So in the cloudfoundry.org open source project, our community has been amazing. So we actually have quite a lot of projects being submitted, quite a lot of frameworks has been added to our open source project. For example, there are a whole bunch of .NET support. So people have added .NET support, people have added PHP support, JRuby, Python, Clojure, Erlang, Haskell, you name it. So you name it, we have support for that in the open source project. That does not mean that we are actually, we meaning cloudfoundry.com and VMware is actually supporting it as a first-class citizen as of now. But as the time progresses, we are going to evaluate. We are actually constantly evaluating which frameworks to support. So if there is a need, then we are going to just pull in that support that open source community has contributed and start supporting it. But as of now, we support only a handful of them. So along with if you look into our GitHub, we actually have a whole bunch of tools, along with actual Cloud Foundry platform as service itself. We also have something called as BOSH. So this is kind of similar to the Chef tool, which is a tool chain, and it allows you to actually install Cloud Foundry itself. So in other words, you can use BOSH and tell BOSH, and you can download our open source Cloud Foundry Ruby-based code, and then you can say, okay, hey, manage these 100 or 1,000 virtual machines. So in other words, you'll have, let's imagine you might have 10,000 machines or 1,000 machines, physical servers, and you might have a lot of vSphere or any other virtual machines. And you could say, okay, Cloud Foundry, you run on these 100 virtual machines for Cloud Foundry itself, and then you manage the rest of 900 virtual machines. So, and then you can very easily have a private platform as a service. So you could basically download both of these tools and then run it in your own company or something. So, and then you can ask your developers, say, to use this interface of Cloud Foundry to do anything. If it is a large company or something, then you might have multiple projects. So you can always ask all your projects to always go through this Cloud Foundry interface, so that you can provide consistent infrastructure and platform as a service for your company. So that's really the beauty of cloudfoundry.org. So as the ecosystem is concerned, you can see here there are quite a lot of people who are actually taken our cloudfoundry.org our source code, or contributed to it, or are become partnered with VMware and are helping propagate this cloudfoundry.com platform as service. So the main idea of our Cloud Foundry platform as service, by making it open source, is that we just want to have the best open source platform as service tool out there. Because of the fact we made it open source, we get a lot of pull requests, and over time it becomes more and more robust, and it becomes more and more feature rich, and one of the best, and we hopefully the best platform as service software out there. So that's why we are getting a lot of support, and we are getting a lot of interest in it from various people in the industry. So the other important aspect of Cloud Foundry is multi-cloud flexibility. Again, like I was talking earlier, it avoids one of the main goals for Cloud Foundry is to prevent vendor lock-in, which means, like I said earlier, if you want to move out of one cloud to a different cloud vendor, or it could just be you are moving from the current cloud, maybe your private PaaS, and you want to now move to a public platform as service, and so you should have this flexibility. If both private PaaS and public PaaS are similar, or they are basically based on the same code base, then you don't have any problem. You can just move it from private to public, or if it is public, then you can move it back to private. So that kind of a flexibility you will not have if you choose something where it's locked in, or if the code is not open source, then you are stuck. If there is a brand new programming language comes in, or brand new database comes in, and you want to now you start using that, you won't be able to just easily move and then or add that go to that new use that new framework or add that new feature to your application. Like I was mentioning earlier, so this multi-cloud is we are trying to make it a reality. So as you can see here, we have Active State and our microcloud and Canonical, Uhuru. So all these guys provide private PaaS distributions, and we have a bunch of people like Enstratus and Offcode, Redscale, Piston Cloud. So all these folks are providing ways for you to easily install and kind of create a hybrid cloud in general. And then we also have a whole bunch of public cloud operators like AppFox, CloudFoundry.com, Pass.io, Tier 3. So all these guys are actually running and operating a public version of Cloud Foundry, and so you can actually go to AppFox and they are offering their own value-added benefits. So they are offering their own features on top of Cloud Foundry, and you can start using their service as well. Some of the key use cases, this is kind of all over the place. Pretty much you can use Cloud Foundry for anything. So in general, any new applications, because in a lot of cases, if your existing application might already have a lot of dependencies in it. So ideally, then any new applications, it's going to be very easy for you to move and start using Cloud Foundry. Or if you're trying to do some kind of a modernization for your existing app, and it doesn't really have too many dependencies, then you can move that as well. And you can use it for development, testing, and staging, and all sorts of things before production. And in addition, you can also use for your SaaS applications, or you might run some piece of your SaaS on Cloud Foundry, whereas some other piece of your current SaaS application might still be in old infrastructure. So just to give you kind of a high-level logical view of Cloud Foundry, so let's say you have a source code, so now you upload it to Cloud Foundry. So what happens is we have something called the cloud controllers. So what they do is they are the ones that intercept your source code, and then they are the ones who are responsible for letting know these what we call as the DEA execution agents and stuff to actually run your application on a particular virtual machine. And in addition, the advantage of platform as service is not just running your application. We also have some other things like routers and load balancers and health managers and stuff built into it. So in other words, you don't have to install any of these things. So instead of going to, if you were to go to infrastructure as a service, then you would have to do all these things yourself, right? So by going to platform as service, you are not only getting a capability to run your application, it means like frameworks and services. You also get some additional benefits like routers and load balancers and health managers, etc. All right, so I'm going to quickly show you a quick demo of using a Node.js app so that you kind of get an idea of how it works. So one of the ways you can upload your source code, it could be Spring Source or it could be a Ruby app or any other apps. So we provide the exact same interface. So one of the ways you can do it is using a command line tool called VMC. So VMC-H. So you can see all the things that we can do. And if I do VMC frameworks, so you can see all the frameworks that we are currently supporting. You can see there is a Sinatra, Play, Node, Rack, Grails, a whole bunch of them. So similarly, VMC services. If I do VMC services, you can see all the services we support, like MongoDB, MySQL, Postgres, RabbitMQ, and Redis. These are the 5 services that we support. And the below ones that you are seeing are the services that my account is currently using. So I can just create an app, and I say I want a MongoDB service or a Redis service, and I can give it a name. So here, for example, here MongoDB-1 is a service, is a name for a MongoDB service that one of my applications is using. I'm just giving it a name, so it is showing it as under a provisioned services section. So let me quickly show you the Node.js app just so you can quickly see what it is. It's a very simple Node.js app. All it is doing is it's like if you are not familiar with it, it's just creating a HTTP server and it says, okay, hello world, and then I'm running on this host and port. And here I'm saying process.env vcap port and vcap host here. So what these environment variables does is when I upload my application, Cloud Foundry automatically populates the value for these things, because in the Cloud Foundry, within Cloud Foundry environment, your application will not be you won't directly hit your application. You would always go via Nginx proxy. So that's our proxy server that we are running. So because of the way the whole thing is set up, your application will get a random host and port. So your application will be running on some random server and at random port. So we need to do something like that for it to run. So let me just push this thing, VMC push. So I'm going to just give it some app name. I'm going to give it Node 1000. It's asking me, do you want to upload the current directory? I'm going to say yes. It automatically detected Node.js. And then I'm saying, okay, it's saying like the application will be deployed on this URL. I'm going to say, okay, fine. And memory reservation 64 MB. How many instances? 1 instance. And it's asking me, do you want to bind to any services? I'm going to say no for now. And I'm going to say no to everything else. Okay, so now if I go back here, so you can see that it's already running, saying hello world, I'm running on this host and this port. But the cool thing to see here is if I say VMC instances and Node 1000, and I'm going to say 5. So what happens now is it already scaled my application to 5 instances. So now if I go back and if I just hit refresh, you can see that the host and the port changes randomly, because we use random algorithm in that when you hit this Node 1000 or cloudfoundry.com, it automatically redirects to one of the 5 instances that is running. So that's why you will see different host and different port. So it may be, sometimes it may be the same virtual machine because it is multi-tenant and different port, or it may be 2 or 3 different virtual machines and different ports. So that's how easy it scales up. So you can very easily scale it down as well. And so if let's say I want to delete this thing, so I can say VMC delete. So I can delete it. So there are lots and lots of tools that we provide, VMC-H. So for example, you can see here, you can say VMC update. So this is another command which you commonly would use. This will allow you to update an existing application. You can start, restart applications. You can map, which means you can, if you're doing a rolling upgrade, you would use VMC map so that you can map that URL to different or a newer version of your application instantly. So we already provide a whole bunch of tools for you to actually manage your applications. So let me just show you one more thing. We'll just go to CD. I'm going to push another application, which is a MongoDB application, just to show you how it would look. So I'm also passing a parameter called runtime, because within Cloud Foundry, Cloud Foundry actually support multiple versions of the same runtime. For example, it will support Node.js 0.8, 0.6, 0.4, all three versions. So you can choose whichever version you want. Similarly, it also supports Java 6 and Java 7. So you can say VMC runtimes to see all the different versions. So you don't need to worry about what would happen if there is a new version of the framework comes in, of the runtime comes in, right? So we take care of all those things as well. So you can see there are two versions of Ruby running, we are currently running. So if you take this source code and you run it in your own infrastructure, so you can actually have as many different versions as you want. So now, one of the things that you noticed was that I just said upload it from the current directory, and it automatically took everything. It also bound itself to a service called MongoDB-1. So all these things are happening because we have this a facility or a feature called manifest. So if I say Sublime, so I have a manifest file for my current Node.js app called manifest.yml. So if I create this YAML file, so here I have specified I want a MongoDB service of name MongoDB-1. So because I provided this manifest file, it automatically read all the information from this file and it hosted my application, it ran my application. So you can see here from this point onwards, I didn't have to manually interact with it. So now if I go back, so you can see this is just a simple application. It just adds a random users and and retrieves the users from MongoDB. But the interesting thing that I wanted to show you here is we have another tool called Caldecott, which allows you to tunnel to this database. So I'm going to do tunneling, and when I say VMC tunnel, it's asking me which database do you want to tunnel to. So I'm going to say which service do you want to connect to. So I'm going to say MongoDB-1. So it now connected. It also printed out the username and password and the database and everything that that is required for me to connect if I were to use some visual tool or something. So now I'm going to just say, connect to this service using this one of these applications that are running on my laptop. So I'm going to say 2. So db.users.find. So you can see what I did was, what happened just now is I tunneled to that MongoDB-1 service that is running on cloudfoundry.com, and I connected that to Mongo command line tool. This is just a command line tool. If you have a MySQL or Postgres, there are a bunch of command line tools. You can connect to whichever you want. And then once I connected, I could interact with it, and then I can manipulate the database. I can see what's going on, what's in the database and stuff. So you can also see there are a bunch of them like Mongo dump, and Mongo restore. So this Mongo dump would actually dump everything that is in the database on Cloud Foundry onto your laptop or onto your machine, and then you can use Mongo restore to actually import all the data from your laptop to your database. So we have all these facilities for you to actually to really use the platform as service without having to worry about any kind of missing features. Okay, so the key takeaways from this are each, every time there is there's a new era. So every time there is a new era shows up, there is something new, right? So in the cloud era, the new technology that we should all be using is platform as service. And existing platform as service, there are many of them, but most of them are incomplete. They either are, they either lock you in, or they don't provide enough frameworks. They're not polyglot, which means they don't support multiple frameworks or multiple runtimes. They're just, okay, I'm going to only support Ruby, or I'm going to only support .NET kind of things. So Cloud Foundry, the main thing is it is completely open source, and we are hell-bent on making sure that it avoids any kind of lock-in, and we are multi-cloud and we are polyglot. So we highly encourage you to try out Cloud Foundry after this session, and hopefully you kind of got an idea as to why Cloud Foundry, or what platform as service is, and how easy Cloud Foundry makes it for developers to use this new technology. All right, thank you guys. Thanks for joining.